I'm Sarah Giletti for the DIY channel, and I have here with me Paul Mad Dog McGuinness
That's
of the
my name.
Popes. You still go by Mad Dog?
Yeah, it's a nickname Shane gave to me, and he was being ironic, because I think he meant he was trying to point out the fact, being ironic, telling people it's actually I was called Mad Dog because I'm so kind and gentle.
And you're here in support of your latest fantastic album,
Thank you.
Outlaw Heaven, where Shane duetted on a few songs.
He's on 3 tracks. One of them he sings. The song is called "Loneliness of a Long Distance Drinker," and 2 other tracks. One being "Don't Let the Bastards Grind You Down."
Great song.
We went over to Dublin and spent about a weekend with Shane, and he was in great form. And just before I came over, I went to see him and spent some time at his family home, the cottage in Shinrone. And the rumours are true. Yes, he does have a new set of teeth.
And I find there's a bit of a Tom Waits vibe on this album.
A big fan of Tom Waits, always have been. I don't suppose it's a conscious thing, but I enjoy, Tom Waits, but lots of other influences on the album.
Yes.
From, this is a very Irish album, but it's not so much an Irish music album. It's not like traditional Irish. It's much more rock. And some of my favourite bands are Irish bands like Thin Lizzy, who weren't necessarily playing Irish music, but they always had a very Irish sound. And that's what I've tried to do in this album. So there's things like Thin Lizzy, Tom Waits, even bits of Van Morrison, I think, in there. Not to mention, the whole soundtrack of my childhood, bands like the Dubliners. But I've got very varied taste. I was a big punk fan, but before that, before punk came along, I was a David Bowie, Roxy Music, and all these influences seem to have congregated in my head, and this has brought the influences for this album, Outlaw Heaven, out.
And rise up from the tea, the beating of his wings, the beating of his wings, on the rocks, on the ropes, on the campus. They're belting out for you, they're belting out for me, they're belting out. Sing it upstairs, come on.
And I know you know that I'm going to ask this. You're 4 months in prison?
Yeah.
What were you in there for?
I was in there for common assault, amongst other things. That was the only charge I pleaded guilty to. I was also in there for perverting the course of justice, for kidnapping, for burglary, which were trumped up charges. And I was a mandatory lockup because in England, perverting the course of justice, allegedly I'd been tampering with witnesses. That was rubbish, but I was locked up because if you supposedly tamper with witnesses, it's a mandatory lockup. So before I got locked up in prison, I had developed a serious, how would you say, drug habit and alcohol problem. Although I didn't see it as a problem at the time, but when I got to prison and there was none, it became a problem. So I suppose I got a chance to kind of look at my life and see all the positive things and all the negative things in it. And I decided to just cut away the negative stuff and deal with the positive stuff. And I love music and I love playing live. And I knew I was getting older, I was going to have to clean my act up a bit. And in January, it's the first gig I think I've done sober. And I've got to say, I was absolutely shaking in my pants with the idea of playing a gig sober. And I've enjoyed it so much, I've more or less stayed sober. And in fact, I have stayed sober for this entire tour. And it's great not only to do the gig sober and not have a headache in the morning, but to actually remember the gigs the next day is a new thing for me, because all that stuff way back then, I remember very little of it, and maybe it's just as well.
You see, Chuck Berry wrote his autobiography while he was in prison.
Yeah, well, I did start writing something, and I thought I'll wait a bit longer to finish it off, because I've got some great stories to tell, but I've got to wait till people are a bit older, otherwise they'll probably be taking me to court for exposing their rude lives.
And I read this really cute quote about you comparing yourself to Robert Johnson and him making that deal with the devil?
Yeah, I wouldn't not comparing
Well,
myself to
it's-
Robert Johnson, but I was to try and give people an idea how I kind of felt. I knew that. I mean, jail turned out to be a very positive experience for me. I was able to look at things and see what a good life I had had, and perhaps how I'd been abusing it. And if I wanted to do it all again, how I was going to have to change. And I remember sitting down and thinking, if I get to do it all again, I get a good crack at it. This time I'm going to try and do it right. And I sort of done a deal with the gods, if there is any up there. And they obviously, if there's someone up there, they want me to do something better because a lot of people passed away in the old popes, and it's fantastic to be able to come back and do it, and I'm fit and healthy and up for it.
Well, you look fit, healthy,
Thank you.
fabulous. You got the t-shirt on, the
Yes.
sunglasses on,
My Outlaw
your
Heaven
little
t-shirt.
cross
Yeah.
on. It's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you.